doesn't exist until it cracks apart. Time doesn't exist until
I
it
am
cracks
Illyria.
apart. Time doesn't exist until
I am Illyria.
you were pretty at night. Time doesn't exist until
I am Illyria.
you were pretty at night. Slew the white-haired one first.
I am Illyria.
You were pretty at night. Slew the white-haired one first.
Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of It's Time to Rewind, the podcast trapped in its own time loop right along with the movies we discuss. This season is the Serial Bomb, yo, and we're looking at Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel, and we've moved on to Angel Season 5, Episode 19, Time Bomb. Today we're discussing the fourth loop in the episode, starting at 18 minutes and 28 seconds, with Illyria knocking over a glass of water and accusing Wesley of trying to murder her again, and ends at 29 minutes and 41 seconds, with Illyria murdering the entire Angel team. Joining me for the third and final time is Rob Branch, my co-host over at Lyrical Innuendo. How are you doing today?
Hello, my lord. It is good to be here with you.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about this before. This is where Illyria accuses Wesley of murdering her again, or of trying to murder her again.
Attempted murder.
Yeah.
And I would argue it down to manslaughter, but that's just me.
And I do think it's interesting, something that I caught in the first conversation, like in the first part of this episode, before what we're talking about, that I feel like gets skipped over a bit whenever they are talking about the first time that Wesley tried to murder Illyria, where she talks about he like tried to erase her from existence, and he mentions that all that did was bring back more memories. And I think that's interesting because they really gloss over that very quickly. But I think that in that moment, they really explain what changed in Illyria from her initial resurrection to now. Because I think they basically explain that she got back more memories from Fred and Wesley's first murder attempt. And so I think that's why she's acting, she has a bit more humanity in her now, because she sees Fred's memories more clearly now than she did whenever she was first brought back.
Yeah, it's interesting because to me, one thing that kind of stuck out after rewatching this episode is the fact that, basically she's dying, and it's, they say it in there, she's leaking petrol, so whatever is going out, that's that void, that hole needs to be filled by something. So the memories of Fred come in from the ether and fill it up, and the more she leaks out, the more Fred's coming back. So she knows like she's dying, but she doesn't really know that she's about to completely and totally, incinerate the entire city. That's major death. She's like, oh, I'm no longer gonna exist. Oh, boo-hoo.
Yeah, and cause enough destruction that Random and Nally are going to have to redraw the maps.
That was a damn good, like a one line right there. And Wesley said it with just so much ease and just pure, just like not missing a beat. He was very stoic, very to the point, and then you're just like, damn Wesley, damn.
Yeah, but before all that, we get this moment, and I think it's interesting. Right before Illyria accuses him of attempting to murder her again, she throws him against the wall using his desk, and it doesn't really seem to hurt him. I get the feeling that it was more like an empty show of strength, because he seems more surprised than injured.
Well, it's interesting, okay, so I forget what level they're on, of the building, but the way she just kind of, she throws him up against the window, and when you watch a clip, like part of it, you can see, okay, well, he gets thrown back against a cross beam of it, but if he was like 2 inches to the left, he could have just gone straight through the window, No, but she wanted to like make her presence known and how pissed off she was. She didn't want to kill him. She just wanted to make him suffer a little bit and realize that, mommy's home and mommy's kind of pissed.
Yeah, I think they're on the top floor because, Angel is the CEO. I'm not sure how many floors are in the building, but I'm pretty sure they're in at least Angel's office is on the top floor, and I believe his office is on the same level as everybody else
Right,
for the
right.
most part.
They're the creme de la creme. So, they have the mansion floor,
Yeah, as the CEO of the Los Angeles branch. And then after Illyria walks out, we get a little bit more of incognito Lorne following
Oh,
Bluebird.
Lorne.
So let me ask you, what do you think of incognito Lorne in this episode?
I fucking love him. So yeah, Lorne was an interesting guy. I use the word interesting entirely way too much. Lorne was a character. At first, he was just a low budget B actor, side character. But then when his club gets decimated, he's like, "No, you guys owe me, okay? That was my safe haven. That was safe haven for everybody, and you guys caused it. So I'm coming to live with you guys." So we find him mature. We find him trying to figure out his place in the team, because everybody kind of has a part to play, but then there's Lauren, like the comical relief, and he doesn't want to try to be the comical relief, but they always write him like that. Like this scene, when he's like trying to go incognito, but he has no idea what incognito means. It's like, oh, I'm gonna put on a hat and glasses, and nobody's gonna understand that this green skin guy is just a regular average Joe.
Well, I mean, within the confines of the Wolferman Heart building, he is kind of just
Yeah.
a typical demon. It's not like they're on the streets of LA where he does stick out like a sore thumb, but I think he does stick out like a sore thumb more just with the hat and glasses. Like him
Oh, yeah.
attempting to be incognito actually makes him stick out more. But I think, and I mentioned it's in the first episode, that in this episode specifically, I feel like they just didn't know what to do with Lorne. And so they just kind of stuck him in here as comic relief. And I feel like as a character, he's better than that.
Yeah, he is a character that has a lot of growth, a lot of hidden talents that you get to see some of his talents here and there. Like he's an amazing, vocalist. Like watching him sing I'm not into musicals, but if he was in a musical, I would definitely get front seats for it, But yeah, he's a very well-rounded character, and they're like, well, we already have that kind of character. What else can we do? And everybody's like, comical relief, maybe? And everybody's like, oh yeah, comical relief. And there's that one person in the writing room, like, guys, we can do better. Come on. And everybody just looks at that person like, shut up, Frank.
I do think in general, especially in the fifth season, I hadn't really thought about it, but the entirety of the fifth season, they just didn't really know what to do with Lorne, because I think he gets like one good episode with the Halloween episode where he's overworked trying to put on this Halloween party, and then he starts making everybody do what he tells them to do without realizing it. And then there's like the giant monster Lorne that appears.
Yeah, that was awesome. Well, wasn't this during the time also when the actor Andy Hallett he was going through was it chemo? Was it?
I've actually I read that, but I didn't catch if it was
he had
happening
congestive
during
heart failure, heart disease. That's what it was,
Yeah.
He died of congestive heart. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that happened after the show. I didn't catch if it was going on during the show. So if that was the case, that would explain why he had such a limited role in the entirety of the fifth season, because he did really feel like he was kind of wasted. And then he just really has like that one episode, and then he has just the one fantastic moment in the season finale, which I'll talk about more.
Yeah.
because I am going to cover the series finale of this show on its
Well,
own.
like, you know, some of the things that he could do, like he could read auras, telepathy, he had empathy, he was a great lie detector. I mean,
Mhm.
his sanctuary, like that's all of the things he could do, you know. He had a little bit of precognition, he had super strength, not super strength, I'm sorry, super hearing. He's not Superman, sorry. Um longevity and sonic, like the ability, like he was basically Black Canary as well. But all this stuff, like he did that in his sanctuary, you know. It's like, you can't lie to me, you know, I know what's going on. And then his sanctuary gets destroyed, and there's like, okay, well, you know, whatever, you know, Lauren's whatever. It's like, wait a minute, what happened to all of his talents?
Yeah, I do think that Lauren is a great character, and it is disappointing that we don't really get to see a whole lot of that in this episode.
Oh yeah.
But we do move on to Harmony, and I think this is one moment of Harmony actually doing a good job of being a secretary.
Yeah, Harmony was always a character that kind of bothered the shit out of me because she was a valley girl. And then, you know, she became a vampire, and she wasn't really good at being a vampire either, you know,
Yeah.
on Angel or on Buffy. And then she comes and takes over, you know, Cordelia's spot. And the entire time you're like, man, I can't stand her, you know. And you're not surprised when she ultimately betrays everybody and, you know, gets her deal. And she's like, you know, sorry, you know, no hard feelings. And Buffy's like, yeah, I wasn't surprised. I'm sorry, Angel was like, I wasn't surprised.
Yeah, it's like I planned for that was actually part of my plan because I knew you would betray me.
Yeah, she's an opportunist, and Angel's like, yeah, I knew what was gonna happen, so whatever, you know.
I do like this scene especially where she's actually is doing a good job of keeping the Fell Brethren occupied, and she offers them an organic cola, which I I was curious about the timing of that because you know these days organic is everywhere, and I was curious about when organic really hit mainstream. And actually, the USDA released their national standards for what is considered organic food, and like how it was grown. And even though it was still a relatively new trend whenever this came out, it's one that had been growing for a few years, and they did release those national standards just like a year before this episode came out.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's the idea of organic cola. It's like, that's no, that's an oxymoron. That's like saying, you know, well, here's my my liquid, you know, keyboard. It's you can't have it, you know. It's because it doesn't matter what kind of cola it is. If it's soda, cola, pop, whatever, it's got crap in it, you know. If it's
Yeah, and
carbonated, it's got crap.
it's really just the difference between it's between crops grown with pesticides versus crops that are grown with pesticides, but they're considered organic pesticides.
Yeah,
That's really the only difference. And a lot of the organic pesticides are just as harmful as regular pesticides.
very true. You know, if you're gonna kill me, you know, just give me the pesticides and call it a day.
Yeah, and then we jump into the boardroom where we see Angel and Gunn talking with Amanda, who's played by Julie Bergman, who is now Julie Boreanaz. That is David Boreanaz's wife, and
Oh,
they had been married for a couple years before this episode came out, and they are still married as of this recording.
no wonder she looks so nervous.
And yeah, I think she does a decent job in this episode. It doesn't feel too much like stunt casting.
No, she's very natural.
Yeah, even though once again we get this whole moment with the walkie-talkie, and that's it's just this running joke that just completely it's like the one irritation about this episode that I am liking everything else about this episode, but it's just that whole Lorne incognito running joke. The more I look at it, the more it irritates me.
What would have been funny is if Angel, like, the second time he, like, Lorne chimes in, he just grabs the walkie-talkie and breaks it in half and then puts it in his pocket, and then towards later he's like, "Can't you answer these things?" He just reaches in his pocket and just gives it to Lorne, and Lorne's looking at it and just falls apart. That's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, but it's annoying to me because they present it as though it was Angel's idea for Lorne to keep an eye on Illyria, but the way that Angel acts makes it seem like it's Lorne is putting this on him, because Angel never interacts with the walkie-talkie at all.
Yeah.
I think, well, he does it once, because he calls on Lorne for them to have a meeting, like in the first part of the episode.
Yeah.
But every other time it's like Lorne or Angel is just ignoring the walkie-talkie, and Lorne's just kind of talking to himself and complaining that Angel never picks up. But aside from the walkie-talkie comic relief interruptions in this conversation, we do get this whole discussion where it really feels like Gunn is trying to convince Amanda to not sign this deal with the Fell Brethren to give them her baby, and then she like goes into this sob story about how her husband has this brain injury, and it's something else that they kind of gloss over, but she mentions that her husband doesn't even really fully remember her, because whenever she talks about what the Fell Brethren will make him whole again, she's like, they will make him so he can remember me again.
Yeah, it's like he's ill, but they're like, part of our obligation to bring your husband back to a full health, we have to have your baby.
Yeah, it's not so much like that. It's like, we need your baby. We are willing to give you whatever you want. We want to lavish you with anything to make you happy so that we can have your baby. And do you think that is like, do you think that the Fell Brethren are honest about that? Do you think that's something like within their capabilities, or do you think that that's just a story that they're feeding her?
I believe it's bullshit, because later on in the conversation, when with Angel, Gunn, and everybody else, they find out that they're lying, and they're like, "Oh, nothing, it's child's play. Don't worry about it. Just go ahead and sign." And it's like, wait a minute, you just lied about that, and what else are you lying about? So I think they were bullshit artists. I believe they thought that the child was their messiah, and they were gonna sacrifice him at the age 13. But other than that, they really didn't have any obligation. They were going to go back to their plane and call it a day.
I'm actually, I think I disagree. I think that they do have the ability to do that, because that with a lot of the demons that we see at Wolfram Heart, they tend to reward people that work with them. And
yeah, but the rewards always come at a price.
Yeah, well, I mean, the price is her baby.
Well, yeah, that's true.
So I think that's a pretty big price that she's paying. And we also see that the Fell Brethren are part of the Blackthorn Circle.
Yeah.
So they're pretty powerful themselves. And Gunn has the line, he says that the Fell Brethren make Jim Jones look like a Sunday school teacher. And I'm curious how many people remember who Jim Jones is anymore, which I definitely heard the name, and I kind of knew, I had a vague idea of what, who he was and what he did. But I just doing a quick Wikipedia skim through, I was actually surprised at how massive the whole Jonestown cult was. Like,
oh yeah,
what do you?
Dude, Jim Jones was a master hypnotist. I mean, the way he got so many people to follow him out of sheer, loyalty. Like, I'm going to promise you the eternal life, the world beyond this. And he just found people at their darkest moments and just hand fed them bullshit. And they're like, yes, this is excellent peanut butter.
Yeah, and that's basically where the phrase, drinking the Kool-Aid originated, because
Exactly.
that's and I was surprised at the number. Like, do you know how many people were part of that Jonestown cult mass suicide?
God, around 300 or so. I'm
It
probably
was
shooting low.
just over 900 people.
Oh,
And it was back in 1978, and they drank the poison flavor aid technically, but it's kind of mutated into Kool-Aid just because Kool-Aid is the more popular brand.
I can't believe it was that many. I thought, I was gonna say 500, and I was like, no, I'm gonna overshoot there. And 300 seems like 300 seems like an even a safe number for a cult leader to create, And then you said 900. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, and at one point, 3,000 people were living in that Jonestown cult, in the Cove, or whatever it's called,
Compound.
the yeah, the compound in Ghana.
Yeah, it's amazing to think that one person could, do that. I mean, how many times do you think he woke up, during the night, or woke up the next day and be like, damn, man, I don't know how much more I can take of this, just keeping the bullshit. Like, I'm exhausted.
I feel like that type of person, they revel in it. So, he's probably, I would imagine that he was like energized and probably felt good about himself every day.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, he was an extreme narcissist.
Mhm.
So if the fact that, Gunn is saying that this brotherhood makes Jim Jones, look like, like Krusty the Clown. It's like, damn,
Yeah,
that's some serious shade he was throwing there.
yeah. And then after they step out of the room, Gunn tells Angel that he's not feeling so good about this return to Wolfram Hart, and he confesses a little bit about his time in the torture dimension.
Yeah,
And he talks about how the worst part wasn't the getting your heart ripped out every night, because at least you knew what you were getting, but the
yeah,
worst part was that the illusion of this normal life, which hides this unseen horror underneath. And then he immediately relates that to his position here, or their position here at Wolfram and Hart. And so you really kind of understand what Gunn's headspace is at this point, because he basically feels like he's still in the torture dimension in a certain way, because he feels like everybody's treating everything as being normal, but there's this unseen horror underneath because they are working at literal evil HQ.
yeah. It's heartbreaking because, at the beginning of the episode, um, correct me if I'm wrong here, but Illyria saves him from
Yeah.
the torture zone, and it's like you get that scene where, Illyria, once again being the badass that she is, takes on the torturer and just bitch slaps him 7 ways from Sunday, and then puts the necklace back on the torturer, so he's cutting his own heart out. But Gunn remembers everything: the ripping of the heart, the creating of a family, helping a son. These are things as human beings that, in some way, shape, or form, we all crave.
Mhm.
We crave family, we crave advancement, we crave love, all this stuff. And obviously the one thing we don't crave is getting our hearts ripped out, but he gets all those things. He gets the happiness, and then he realizes he's going to die and starts it over, and he remembers it, every single time, but is being brainwashed to believe that, oh, I'm not going to, it's a great day, and gets this fear, as soon as she's like, hey, I think, the light bulbs are out, and he's like, oh, don't worry about it. He goes, no, they're fine. And his wife's like, no, can you go get some from the basement? And he's like, ah, fuck. So that
Mm.
that, that level of I have a happy life, happy wife, to, oh well, here goes my heart again. Him comparing it to the work that he does, like, everybody, whatever job a person has, whatever, career they go through, they want to believe that they're making a difference. And lawyers, I have a friend who's a lawyer, and he really does believe that he makes a difference, but you can tell, like, the stress that he's under constantly because of how the world is and how easy it is just to be, a villain, and not like a major villain, not like an A-lister, like a D-lister villain, and the moral struggles he deals with every day, and then here's Gunn coming back to work for basically the devil in the devil's workshop. He's like, oh, by the way, you guys are going to give up this child at, he's going to be at the age of 13 sacrificed. And Gunn's like, no, what? No, damn it, no. But,
Yeah.
Angel, centers him back. It's like, look, we're doing this to get rid of, but Angel, being himself, is, has a soul and a moral obligation, so it's an interesting twist.
Yeah, I think I haven't really talked about it, but I do like the concept of season 5 in general, just putting them at the center of evil and giving them all these resources to have them think that they're doing good, but there's always this underlying current of, well, what's evil's plan? Like, how does this benefit evil to have us undermining them from the inside?
You have unlimited cosmic powers, but by the way, you can only do this. And you're like, wow, that just blows.
Yeah, it's they they discuss that a lot throughout the season, just how they think that, are they making a difference, or is Wolfram and Hart corrupting them from the inside without them realizing it? And like, that whole concept is just really great, and I love how the season presents that throughout all the 22 episodes.
Oh yeah.
And then back to the scene, we get this moment between Hamilton and Wesley, and this is an interesting little scene. I love Adam Baldwin as Hamilton, this liaison to the senior partners, where he reveals that the the senior partners are very interested in what Wesley's doing, because they think that he's researching a way to kill Illyria, because they also do not want Illyria around.
Yeah, they find her to be like a threat against whatever they want, and they're like, well, Hamilton, go down there and just remind Wesley he works for us, by the way, and yeah, we want her dead. No, 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 we want her erased from existence.
Mhm. And as he leaves, he suggests that Wesley take a look at the low emanation scanner readouts. And then as he does that, we get a nice low res 3D model of the building with a bright glowing dot that we very quickly see corresponds to Illyria's position in the hallway, where she's still being followed by Lorne.
Lauren just gives up. He's like, look, what gave it away? Where did it go? Where did I go wrong?
Yeah, and uh, I do like that Lorne calls her Leary.
Yeah, just a little cute nickname. He's got nicknames for everybody. Angel Cakes.
Yeah, and I always love Illyria's dialogue throughout, practically everything she says, and she's just like, the vampire plays children's game. And Lorne, of course, responds with, tag you're it, honey.
Yeah, next.
And then I think that this is the best bit with the Fell Brethren, is the three of them come in, and up to this point they've all been presented as very serious looking, very dry skinned demons. But as soon as they come in and talk with Amanda, they're like, how are you feeling? They feel like three Jewish ants just really fawning over her.
It can, yeah. To me, it gives me a little feeling of Tu Wong. Thanks for Tu Wong Fu. Thanks for everything, Julie Newmar. Where all of them are playing like these drag queens, and they're macho men, but then you have them, and then they just flip the script, and you're like, "How's third trimester? Ooh, squee, happy!" And you're like, "What just happened here?"
Are you feeling nauseous, lightheaded? That's all perfectly normal. Have you read the latest article on fit pregnancy?
We're going to print them out. We're going to get them for you. We'll have them laminated. That way, if you throw up, it's okay. Don't worry about it. We have you, darling.
Yeah. And then this is the bit where Gunn reveals the whole, the what's it called? Gordabach ritual sacrifice whenever the child turns 13. As he's being fed on a diet of berries and urine, or excuse me, consecrated urine.
Consecrated urine, yeah, it's fine.
And then right whenever the brethren get upset because Gunn's fighting a little bit too hard for Amanda's rights instead of theirs, Illyria bursts in and demands to speak with Angel. And again, as they walk out of the episode, they walk right past Lauren, still with the walkie-talkie and the hats, and this running joke that will not die.
Yeah, Lauren, Angel just kind of gives up on her, like, Lauren, go away. I don't care,
Yeah, and this is where Illyria, she accuses Angel of causing these time-leaping pains, because at this point she doesn't know what's happening to her, and she thinks that this is being she thinks that gun has to do with what's happening to her, and she's like, I don't know if it's poison, if it's magic, and she even says, I'm impressed, even though it's not going to do you any good. You're still going to die.
Yeah, and the lines coming up after that, where it's Lauren and it's Angel, and Lauren's like, if you really want this thing to work, you have to respond, and Angel just gets pissed. slaps the hat off him. He goes,
yeah, he says, you've got to keep your thingy on.
He's like, that's real mature. Just off camera, that's mature. Yeah,
that's the only part of this running joke that I enjoy, where Lauren says, you got to keep your thingy on for this to work, and then he smacks his hat off and he's like, yeah, real mature. But before that, my other favorite joke of this moment is, Illyria grabs Angel and by the collar and lifts him up against the wall, and she says, ridiculous apes, my death won't prevent your dying. What have you done to me? And Angel says, get your damn hands off me.
Nice little throwback there.
Yeah, I love that kind of almost reversal of the Planet of the Apes reference. And then he walks past Harmony and he blows off the Fell Brethren deal. He throws it off to Gunn right after Harmony tells him that it's getting a little shouty in your office. I have to point out these lines just because, I always love the language in Buffy and Angel.
Yeah, they fit each character with their own style, and this is a very Harmony comment. It's getting very shouty in there, and he's like, I don't care, just go away, leave me alone, let Gunn can handle it, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, and then we get this is really like the exposition scene of the episode, where Angel walks into the science lab with Wesley and Spike, which I love that Spike's there, even though it makes very little sense for Spike to be there. Other than, again, I suppose he's really the only other character that would make sense to be there.
Well, what's really hilarious is the fact that he's working on a laptop, and he, throughout his entire run of both Angel and Buffy, he's not tech savvy at all. I mean, he could drive a car, but that's about it. And he's sitting there tapping on the keyboard like, well, I know what I'm doing. And then you could see him getting frustrated, like, yeah, it's not doing what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, and this is where Wesley basically explains that Illyria is overloading her human body with too much demon energy, and she's going to self-destruct, but he and Spike were going to take care of it. And with this Mutari generator, and we get this tech speak. It creates a pinhole to an infinite extra dimensional space, a negatively charged pocket universe that should draw her radiant essence, her power, into it.
Yes, very, very tech savvy for saying, yeah, I'm going to create a black hole inside of her.
Yeah, basically.
And then I'm going to zoom Illyria's soul into the negative zone.
Yeah, and Angel just kind of skips, and he's like, is it going to kill her? And Wesley just kind of reluctantly is like, yeah.
Yeah, the entire time everybody's like, no, we're not going to kill you, we're not going to kill you. And the Angel's like, is it going to kill her? Like he's just basically given up. He's like, all right, is she gonna die?
I mean, that was his plan. Like in the first part of this episode, Angel was telling Wesley to come up with a plan to kill Illyria because she's a wild card at this point. And after they leave the science lab, we get this this like heroes walk with the three of them, and you have this like heroic music pounding behind them, and then they go into the room, and they don't initially see Illyria at all. The reveal of Illyria is whenever Spike gets startled, and then he poofs into dust. And then
she gets
as he poofs in, as he poofs into dust, we see Illyria with a Spike right behind him. Do you remember like watching this like the first time?
Yeah.
Being surprised, like I don't think anybody really thought that everybody was dead, but it was still a shock.
So yeah, when I watched that, I realized that, okay, obviously there's going to be more episodes, so, but the idea that, she just iced the three main players in less than a minute's time, I was like, Jesus Christ, and you feel kind of bad because, she basically spikes Spike, and then she doesn't impale, like she threw the spike through Wesley and impales it into the wall.
Yeah,
right by Angel's face.
Yeah, we see the bloody stake, him, stuck into the wall right next to Angel with blood dripping, and then we cut back and we see Wesley with a giant wound in his chest on both sides,
right,
as he falls to the ground. And then she does like the squishy punch into Lauren's chest, which pretty much signifies that he's dead as well.
Oh, you hear
then yeah, and he slumps to the ground, and then she grabs an axe off the wall and beheads Angel, who again poofs into dust with just a brief moment where you see his head, like you see kind of an after image of his head, like you can tell it's his head even though it's already kind of halfway dusty as it hits the wall,
and just poofs,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it did throw me for a loop when it happened. I'm like, wait a minute, hold up, this can't be the entire thing, that's a messed up way to end the series,
Yeah, and then she like smiles. We get a close up of her face where she smiles, and then we get our next fade to black to commercial, and then right before her next loop, we get it fade back in, and we see the bodies, like the camera scrolls past the body of Lauren and Wesley because the other two are dust.
Yeah.
Right before we get the other, then we get her. I almost feel like because of where she grabs her stomach, it's like she's got the time cramps. It's her time of the month. She's got the time cramps.
Yeah, it's interesting because all this is happening, and then it happens again, but she brings Angel with her. So every time it happens, Angel's going with her, and he's like, "What the hell's going on?"
Yeah, I'm looking forward, and like it's been a little bit since I watch the episode all the way through, but I'm looking forward to talking to those moments. But yeah, we're not quite there yet.
Oh,
So
we will be.
yeah, this is kind of crazy, but I do think I almost wish that they would have put this a little bit earlier in the episode, maybe.
It would have made a little bit more sense, but then again, if they did, I feel like it would have thrown everything away. Like everybody would have known what's going on. So the fact that
I feel like even now, kind of people know what's going on because they're seeing her jump back and forth through time, so they know that this, like they see everybody die, and I think they've already said that she's jumping back and forth through time, and so I think the expectation is that she's going to jump back through time and then something's going to change.
yeah.
Where I think if they had somehow had this scene before revealing that she's jumping back and forth through time, it might have had a little bit more impact, except other than uh, other than like the plot armor, because that they're not going to kill all four of the
Right, yeah.
main characters. It's close to the end of the series, but it's not close enough
Not
for
at
them to kill everybody.
that peak moment.
Yeah. And then that brings us to the end of this loop. So do you have anything else about this clip, this episode, or this season of Angel?
I honestly, I wish they would not have ended the season so soon. Like, I don't want to say ended the season, but ended the show. Like they could have gone at least another 2 seasons. This was probably my second favorite episode of the season. I really didn't enjoy Gunn's multiple sacrifices. It just got cringeworthy. But I did enjoy, like, I enjoyed the puppet scene, puppet episode, and this was my second, because it's time travel, but it's not time travel. It's a little bit of both, but then you're like, okay, what exactly is going on?
Yeah, I think season 5 had a lot of good episodes. I love the episode where Cordelia came back for her one final episode. I like the one that with the flashback to Angel and Spike in the submarine.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good episode, and I mean, obviously the puppet episode, but everybody
loves the puppet
everybody.
episode.
Yeah. And I like the finale as well. I think there's a lot of good stuff in the finale.
I felt the finale was too soon. It was too fast. Like the finale should have been a 2-part episode, because there was a lot. I did enjoy them going through, at the end of it, like they're fighting the legions of hell, but it's like they could have done a little bit more.
Yeah, I also like, I have the comic, which is, they don't call it this, but it's basically Angel season 6, the after the fall. I don't remember a whole lot about it because it's been a while since I've read it, but I do love that the Angel actually befriends the dragon.
Yeah.
And you find out that that basically the dragon was there against his will, and so Angel ends up teaming up and befriending the dragon. I think that's kind of a fun little twist.
You don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. We're both, we're basically on the same team. Let's just take care of the problem, me and you.
And then Spike becomes like basically lord of his own little pocket dimension.
I remember that. Yep.
Like him and Illyria. And Wesley is like a ghost because he was similar to Spike at the beginning of the season. It's like he was contractually bound to Wolfram and Hart, and then Gunn is a vampire.
That I forgot. I'm not gonna lie, that one I forgot right there. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I think I'm probably gonna try reading a few of those comics before I discuss the finale for this. I'm not
Well, that's
sure.
good.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not sure if that will be the last episode of this season or the Buffy movie. One of those two is going to be the last episode of this season.
Are you gonna do like a flip a coin 50-50, you know?
Maybe. But yeah, it's I think we've gotten a little bit far off track, so
Yeah, sorry about that.
that's quite all right. But I would like to thank you for joining me today and talking about these 3 loops here on Angel Time Bomb. So why don't you once again let everybody know where they can find you online?
Well, you can find me at Rabbit Hole Podcasts. We also have our Facebook page, Rabbit Hole Podcast, where we talk about all the shows that we have. Talk about, special events like that come up. And we also take, consideration. If you guys have an idea, hey, let us know. Give us, shoot us a message. I am on Whatever with Jason Soto, where I basically get treated like garbage every time. I am the joke there. I'm on Top 5A through Z, where me and 4 other people talk about our favorite shows, and I'm usually drunk on that show every single time. And I'm on Lyrical Innuendo with you, where we talk about dirty, dirty songs, dirty deeds done with sheep.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. I really enjoy that show. I would love it if more people listen to it, but even if we keep getting single digit listeners,
we're gonna grow. We're gonna grow. I have some ideas.
I still love doing the show. It's a lot of fun.
I have some ideas, and I'm hoping we can get more. I'm hoping we can get more guest stars on the show, have them talk about their songs. I think I may have a couple lined up for you, but those are going to be spoilers. They're secrets. I can't give them away yet.
All right. And as for this show, I am your host, Bubbawheat, and you can find me on Twitter where I'm at Bubbawheat. You can find this show, It's Time to Rewind, on Anchor.fm, as well as anywhere else that you listen to podcasts. We have a Facebook group, It's Time to Rewind, a time loop group. You can join that to discuss episodes as they come out, as well as have discussion on time loops in general. And until next time, grr.
Time doesn't exist until it cracks apart. Time doesn't exist until it cracks apart. Time doesn't exist until it cracks apart. You were pretty at night. Time doesn't exist until it cracks apart. You were pretty at night. Slew the white-haired one first. You were pretty at night. Slew the white-haired one first.